today's lesson, we are going to be continuing our matrix problem solving with word problems, right? So you've got these set of problems. I wanted to do just a few of these problems because a lot of these are very similar. I think these are a lot less complicated than the ones we did on Friday last week, but it gives you a good idea of what kinds of questions you can see. A lot of the times you'll see questions like these on the SAT, any entrance exam type of questions where you have relationships between numbers and things like that. Normally, you would set up an equation or two or three, and you would use substitution, elimination, those different ways, or maybe just a straight up guess and check method. Fortunately, we have a much more sophisticated way of solving these things. And I just wanted to kind of do a couple of these with you. The answers are at the bottom of the second page, so you can already check your solutions. But for the most part, the most important part of this lesson is to be able to set the equations up, the very first step. And in this case, this one is relatively easy, number one. What we're going to do now is we're just going to kind of walk you through the process that I expect to see. Number one, which is by far the most important step, is to be able to write these equations out. Number one is definitely not one of the most challenging ones, but it gives us a good idea of how to do it. The sum of two numbers is 30. I need to give these two numbers that we're going to be working with some kind of name. We're going to call them x and y. You can choose any two variables you'd like. Just be consistent for both. And their difference is 12, right? So if we add them, we get 30. If we subtract them, we get 12. If we set this up as a matrix equation, you take the coefficients of each of your variables and you make a matrix out of it. So 1, 1 for the first equation, and then 1, negative 1 for the second equation. We're going to bring our variables down next and our constants down in this matrix. All right, that's really the first thing I want to see after you get the equations down. Number two, I want to see a determinant, right? That's going to be going into the inverse. And we use our inverse formula. You can look that up in your notes. We're going to rearrange. We go ahead and swap the A and the D. We change the signs on B and C. This one's kind of awkward because you have a bunch of ones, so you can't really see that switch changing. And then I distribute the negative 1/2 into all of these values, and this is our inverse right here. So that's really what I'm looking for, this final inverse. To get step 4 that I'm looking for, I bring down the constant matrix and I put it next to the inverse. And we always do the inverse on the left side of the constant matrix. That's going to always happen to be, actually, in this situation, you can't do it any other way. But anytime we do it in the future, it's always on the left side, no matter what our constant matrix looks like. We go ahead, we multiply this matrix times this matrix for both situations. You can see that work here, and I want to see that work. This is what I'm going to have to see. Now, you're more than welcome to use a calculator to kind of assist you in this. I'm really determining that you understand the process to go from here and how these multiply to get this. To be honest with you, I did this in the calculator from the very beginning, just to get to the point where I know what the answers are, and then I can make my work correspond to get these two answers. It also allows me to know that I'm right, I'm wrong. A lot of places here for careless mistakes. Okay, anyway, so it's 1/2 times 30, then it's going to be 1/2 times 12, and you add them up. Here we have 1/2 times 30, and this time we're going to have negative 1/2 times 12, so we're going to be subtracting 1/2, or it could be adding the opposite, or adding the negative 1/2 times 12, which either way it works out to give you 21 for x and 9 for y. That's number one. Number 6. This one I did one reason is because there's a few typos in the paragraph. It says the sum of two numbers is 25. One number is twice the second number plus 7. What are the two numbers? That's how you should read it. And we can see that over here. Number 6's equations are x plus y is 25. That's the obvious one. Here it says one number, so we're going to just call it x, is equal to 2 times the other one plus 7. That would be equal to x minus 2y equals 7. It's important that we put them in the right equation. X variable, y variable equal to constant. That's how this one is. That's how my matrix equation expects it to happen. If I have it in a different way, if I worked it this way, then I'm gonna be confused about where to place the numbers. I might get lucky since it's in the right order here. I could get lucky here, but the -2 here would have been a problem if I hadn't really thought about it. Always get your equations in standard form, where it's the x plus the y equal the constant number. So we set it up. You can see the matrix equation here, the determinant here. This is my inverse. We multiplied through here, and we ended up with 19 and 6 for the two solutions for x and y. Take these, the rest of these equations work exactly the same way, except you have a few quantities where if you got two different quantities, you need to come up with two different equations. And then essentially, to be honest, I think what I'm really most concerned with is that you get the equations written down. I think we've done enough of these matrix equations that's how they work out. All of these are going to be two equations long, so it's a matter of getting practice working them out. I would be more inclined to go through each one of these and figure out all of the different equations and solve them that way. So take your time and practice these and work on getting the equations right so that you can eventually check your work in the calculator and then just kind of put your work in there to make sure it's correct. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll keep practicing this. And test is on Friday if you haven't seen the schedule, but we got a few things to learn, but this will be one of them.